Because May is the celebration of all things Star Wars, I really wanted to highlight my little Star Wars toys collection, but not these guys. As much as I love the Black Series line and I do like covering that on this channel, I'm actually talking about these, my sealed collection. I'm very nostalgic for the prequels era of merchandising since I grew up during this era, especially that Clone Wars era of toys. I still remember seeing and loving this toy line in stores at the time, and even though I am a fan of some of the Disney Star Wars stuff, the merchandising definitely has a different feel to it compared to what it was like when I was a kid. It's still fun to collect, but it's different for sure. These aren't collected for resale purposes or for profit or for gains or anything. I just really like the time period of toys here, so I have quite a few toys from the 2000s era still in a sealed collection just for display purposes, some of which aren't even related to Star Wars at all. I thought we could take a look at each of these toys in the order that they've released in, but this wasn't the order that I acquired them in, mind you, and I can give a little bit of background details as to how I got them. I'm pretty sure the oldest toy in my collection here is this 2-pack of Luke and Leia from the original Star Wars. It's from the Power of the Force line. This is Luke and Leia as shown at the end of the film during that Yavin celebration. We have a rather scary looking Luke and Leia, and the only accessory here seems to be the medal that he is awarded. I paid 20 NZD for this at a convention a few years ago now actually, and I think it might have been the first toy of these that I managed to find and keep in sealed condition. The Power of the Force line was one that I didn't really collect as a kid. I had a couple of them that I bought secondhand, so there's not too much sentimental value here for me. I was just excited to see an old toy like this still in sealed condition for what I thought at the time was a pretty decent price. The back of our box here is a cutaway image, just a gimmicky thing of the 90s toy packaging. It's a still from the movie, and down below to advertise the other toys in the series, some more image stills from the movies. The toy has dates of 1998 and 1997 on the packaging, so this toy is actually older than me. The next release was a Phantom Menace toy of Darth Maul. I got this guy just a few years ago now, I think. He was one of the last ones that I bought here to complete my little collection. I paid the same price for him as I did the others, just 20 NZD. I remember seeing a lot of these sealed while visiting overseas families when I was a kid at some retro toy stores. I really love the box art of the Phantom Menace release toys. This Maul specifically is the Tatooine variant with his cloak and a single-bladed lightsaber. I think this toy looks pretty good actually, even by today's standards. This line of Phantom Menace toys featured a Comtech chip. It would interact with some voice box thingy and speak lines from the movie. I've actually looked at a couple of talking toys here on the channel in the past, a pretty big gimmick of the 90s and the 2000s. Comparison on packaging, the Phantom Menace release is a lot bulkier than the other one. The back of the box here has all sorts of text and a figure roster. Information was really just dumped everywhere back in the day on these things. The top section here features a description of the movie, and then we have a description on Maul as a character, followed by the lines that his Comtech chip can say. The section here just details the communicator. We have Obi-Wan here to help demonstrate this thing. And then our roster for the figures is located here. Back then, toys were really cheap and plenty and everywhere. A lot of characters here on offer. I'm also assuming that this is 2 waves here because I have seen some of these toys only show half of the figures on the back. I'm going to guess that the cloaked figures here, including this guy, are all considered second wave releases, but it looks like here we had 13 toys available. Honestly, by today's standards, you're lucky to even be able to find all 6 figures from one wave these days in the country. He was dated 1998, so pretty close to the same release as our last toy, and the barcode here says that he was valued at 10 Jedi Master Points, which I thought meant that if you bought enough toys, you could exchange these barcodes for more toys. It's incredible, and it's no wonder they don't do something as amazing as this today. Mailways were always something that I had heard about and I loved the idea of, but I'm not sure that it was actually valid here in NZ. Having now just researched into this though, it actually looks like Hasbro used this as a marketing gimmick to promise mailways in the future, but the idea was never actually materialized. There's a lot of comments here online that say that eventually they held an auction of some sorts and you could use your Jedi Master Points to bid on various items, but they eventually stopped releasing toys with the Jedi Master Points. That's a classic Hasbro move. Taking Maul away now, we get the special set here. It is a battle droid with a STAP speeder, and I think I bought this in 2022, maybe 2021. Again, I only paid $20 for this at a convention. I was just really surprised to see a toy like this still in sealed condition 20 years later for a really cheap price. Sometimes I think I'm being swindled into buying bootlegs or something, but then I remember that these movies were hated on by a lot of people at the time, so maybe the sentimental value is just a personal one for me alone. I had no intention of actually seeking this toy out or anything, but the price really sold me on this thing. By this point in time, I actually did have a few of these toys already that you're about to see later on in the video, so it was only going to increase my collection. The battle droid looks pretty funky. His stance is wider than what I'm used to from other toys like this, so I thought it was funny. The box art for this is like the modern toys. Nothing too fancy here like that single release Darth Maul figure. It is nice seeing the action figure in the window display though. The side walls here feature the same art as one another, just info on the toy. The back of the packaging here shows similar information that we've seen on Maul already. Here's an image of the toy showcasing all of the features, a description of the toy, there's no description of the movie featured here, and we have our roster of figures, and I assume that this is definitely Wave 1 then because there's less figures here. We also have a Naboo starfighter that released here as well. Dated as 1998 and worth 20 Jedi Master points this time, so he was worth double Maul. Taking this guy away now, we move into the 2000s. This is a deluxe figure of Count Dooku. I grabbed this guy for $5 from a bin 2 years ago at another convention, similar convention to where I found that battle droid actually. This was a very quick purchase, and you may have noticed by now the villains thing that I have for these prequel toys. This toy looks insane. I love play features on action figures, and this guy has a force flipping attack. We have an image up top demonstrating this move. The toy looks pretty good on the inside. Again, I think that these toys all look pretty cool for this small of a scale, and we can see that he's included with a big display base too. Flipping him over to the back now, we can see a pretty similar design to what we've had with Maul before. There's lots of text here just sprawled all over the packaging, some images of advertisements. These all look pretty good. Here we have a description of the movie Attack of the Clones, and my apologies, his name is actually Darth Tyranus, and we have a description of the character here to follow as well. He was released around the same time as the Toy Biz Saruman toys actually. Then here we have a text box of how to assemble the toy and its base together. I love the practice and skill required to actually achieve the play feature line, which essentially tells me that this thing barely worked. We also have a better image here demonstrating that play feature. It looks cool. I doubt it worked 100% of the time. It says here that you could also connect the base onto Obi-Wan and have them like flip into each other, which seemed cool at first, but it kind of looks like Obi-Wan features the exact same display stand, or similar with some slight differences. Other special releases here included Mace Windu with a battle droid and a force power attack. That seems like a really good deal to me. And then we have Jango Fett with some snap-on armor and accessories. Definitely seems like the weaker one here personally. And then we round this out with our Obi-Wan figure, dated as 2002, so I am missing a good few years there worth of toys, and this toy was worth just 10 Jedi Master points, so I hope he was the same price as the single release figures and not the price of a special pack like I've been assuming all this time, but really, I doubt it. Getting rid of him now, here is another Attack of the Clones set. This time it's Yoda, and the price tag is right there too. Yoda with force power, also released for the Attack of the Clones line. This guy cost me just 15 bucks from a pawn shop I found after class one day a couple of years ago now. I was amazed to find him. Yoda merchandise is really representative of this prequel's era for me. I grew up seeing billboard cutouts and displays of him and Vader just everywhere advertising toys, and so for the impressionable youth like myself, I was hooked. Great value here as well. You basically get two figures for, I'm assuming, the same price as what the Dooku set cost, and a whole bunch of extras are included here as well. If we flip him over, more walls of text here and a better look at the goods inside. You can definitely tell that he includes a lot more on offer here compared to that Dooku figure. We have the exact same description of the movie as before, but now we have a small description on Yoda showcasing his lightsaber. This may be viewed as a misunderstanding of the character, but to many kids like me at the time, it was sick. Like, Lucas knew exactly what the audience was he was marketing to. Yoda has this really great looking display base, and he also includes a super battle droid, so without even realizing, I have the two main cannon fodder enemies of this trilogy. Using that little lever there, you can slide Yoda forward or something, and at the same time the super battle droid will fall over. It looks like there's a separate play function involving this crane too, so just more gimmicks thrown on here. And finally, it says that Yoda can also force pull his lightsaber towards him, so I'm guessing that magnets are involved. A really cool toy. Again, even by today's standards, I would have bought this today. Well, I did. I bought it a couple years ago. What am I saying? The other toys available here were C-3PO with a droid assembly line. Awesome looking toy, honestly. And we have Anakin and a Geonosian soldier with a slashing attack. There's no display base here though, so it's not as cool to me. And then Yoda with all of his really cool additions. This guy was also dated as 2002, also worth only 10 Jedi Master points. The best toy of the bunch so far in my opinion. We jump ahead now to in-between episodes. This is Mace Windu, who was released as part of the original Cartoon Network Clone Wars series, one of my favorite additions in all of Star Wars media. I got this toy for the same price as most of the others. I think he was $20. I bought him a few years ago because I didn't know that the Clone Wars series actually received toys. You can see here though that the packaging is in very rough condition. It's all sun damaged. I don't know if the toy inside is clear or not, but I thought that this made for a pretty cool addition, honestly. He's pretty statuesque though. I don't see a lot of articulation bends or anything here, but he is very stylistic compared to the live action figures, and I think that's kind of what made him more appealing to me. The back of the toy here features some similar patterns that we've already looked at, but it's a bit more streamlined here. So a brief overview before the up close details. Disappointed to see that the entire box was damaged here as well. We have an image of Windu and a description on the Clone Wars short-lived series that released in between the episodes. The figure roster for this line of action figures consisted of the main characters from the series, Dirge probably being the most special character here since he's the only figure to no longer be in the limelight of canon. Apparently he was brought back in some comics or something because Of course he was, no one's ever really gone in Star Wars. This toy was dated in 2003, looks like the Jedi Master Point system has been removed by this time, taking him away. I think this is the first Star Wars toy that I bought in sealed condition. It was either him or the Luke and Leia from the beginning here. This is Vader from Revenge of the Sith. Of all the toy lines in Star Wars, this is the most nostalgic for me, along with the Clone Wars movie coming in close second. The Revenge of the Sith line was my first real introduction into buying Star Wars toys. I had this Vader as a kid and I grabbed him for just $10 on a 50% clearance sale at a convention. The people selling all this stuff, they didn't want to have to take any of it back with them, so I grabbed it as soon as I saw it. The figure is what really started this idea of collecting prequel based figures and trying to keep them in sealed packaging for a display. I love the box art here. Again, the stylistic toy packagings of the 2000s, it just really does something for me. The back of the box is a bit more busy than that Mace Windu figure. It's not as cluttered as the episode 2 toys though. Character image and a quick description, an image of the toy, the entire roster, and some wordings on some of those features. There's no more describing the movie here, instead it's Vader and everything that you need to know about him as a character. A look at the figure here and the fact that he contains lightsaber attack. You squeeze his legs and he'll swing his laser sword. Cool busy roster of figures here releasing for this wave. I think it was all of wave 1, but I'm not too confident on that. It really does feel like a wave 1 kind of deal here though. I actually had a small handful of these figures at release, none of those main players though, funnily enough. Eventually I did get some variants of an Obi-Wan and an Anakin, but I really wanted these 3 specific ones, maybe someday in the future. I think it's really cool to have included characters like Super Battle Droids and Clone Troopers in the first wave. You gotta hand it to the army builder type figures. I do remember specifically having this R2-D2 toy and I really wanted that bodyguard and Grievous, but the parents always said no. And finally it ends with Mace Windu, who I'm guessing had a real surge in popularity at this time, and then this very Vader figure and the Emperor, dated as 2005. Really cool series, and now it's time to take a look at some more good guys. This is the Yoda toy that released as part of the Clone Wars line. The initial wave was released to coincide with the movie that released in cinemas. Yoda here looks very different compared to what we're used to. I guess he kind of looks closer to that Mace Windu we looked at. A little sickly if I'm honest here. Firing Force Blast here as the main feature. We can also see that this little guy is sitting inside with his saber and his cane. The packaging is shaped like a Clone Trooper's helmet. The back of the box here shows the figure roster and toy info. This was numbered as the 3rd figure in the line. It's a smaller wave than usual here, mostly consisting of figures to really hype up that TV show airing later, not necessarily the movie. A small description here on Yoda and what he does for the team. A figure roster here which consisted of Anakin, Obi-Wan, Yoda, Rex, Clone Trooper, Grievous, a battle droid, and R2-D2. Confused me as a kid because Grievous is only featured in a blink and you'll miss it scene in the movie. The toy was dated as releasing in 2008, and from there it was just Clone Wars, Clone Wars, Clone Wars, and my collection does take a huge gap until we see Mandalorian, who I bought on a whim on a Boxing Day, and I paid the most for him as well. It was a Boxing Day purchase that I just added to my order. I don't know, I'm pretty easygoing with this kind of stuff. He's very shiny, he looks really cool. Shiny Mando's packaging here is from the vintage line. It's incredibly minimal and very boring compared to what we've just previously looked at. Shockingly, the usual price of these toys is now in the $35 range. All of those previous figures we looked at were all priced at like 20 bucks. A decade ago, 2 decades ago even, and yet I was still able to get all of them over the past 4 years for $20 again. Small description on the toy and the roster of figures here. I think they're all Mando characters. He's a cool figure to have to highlight the display, but I don't really have too much attachment to this one just yet. Dated as 2020, I think I must have bought him around December of that year or something. The last figure here is a mistake purchase. There is a quick story here. This is the Droid's re-release vintage design of C-3PO. He's got a collectible coin. I do remember a couple of the toys I had as a kid had collectible coins, so you know, there's a cool feature there. And these Droids figures released pretty recently, I think. I actually bought him just last year, not even a full year ago, so dated sometime after 2021, I'm guessing. He looks pretty cool, but I bought this guy thinking that I would be able to buy the R2-D2 figure to go with him. He was priced at $35, I got him on clearance for $6 NZD. Of course, he was clearance because he was actually the only one left. The really nice looking Boba Fett figure that came out in the same wave, he was gone immediately the moment he touched shelves. The packaging here looks really pretty though, and the art shows descriptions for the 3 characters. Next to that we have the toys themselves. They look really great. Then down below we have an image of the timeline of releases. It's not a timeline of the toys though, a timeline of the movies, which I think is neat but also strange. That's ultimately my full collection of sealed Star Wars toys. I've had sealed Black Series toys before, but they were all Galaxy's Edge themed, and I actually opened them just this January once I returned from the parks. I was just so excited and still kind of riding that high. They lasted about 3 years being sealed. I think this collection has taken me around 5 to 6 years on again off again, not consistently collecting or anything because I'm not interested in actually amassing too many Star Wars sealed toys. I just want one to represent each movie mostly. My next goal would be to try and find toys toys based on the other episodes that I'm currently missing. The original trilogy would be really difficult, but I'm not too picky on the release dates for those toys. I did buy this specific Rey figure a couple of years ago for dirt cheap clearance, like less than $5, but I am a little disappointed now because I think I actually did open that figure, and had I kept it sealed, that would have been a really nice bridge between the Yoda and the Mandalorian here. When The Force Awakens released, I did get heavily into the Black Series toys, and I decided to make the jump to these bigger figures instead of the small ones. These small figures that Disney and Hasbro have been releasing ever since, like Star Wars Rebels, they just don't really come close to the ones that I had as a kid in my eyes. They all lack articulation and detail, so I started getting into the fancy Black Series line instead. Obviously, I realized that the reason they were doing that for the cheap wave was because they want to try to convince people to go into the vintage line, and here in NZ, a Black Series figure is less than $10 a difference compared to the vintage line. It's crazy to me that the vintage line is nearly $35 to $40 per figure now. The purchases were occasional, but then suddenly in 2020, they started all just dropping in clearance prices once I moved away from my hometown. I just suddenly felt a need to buy all sorts of toys again, and so I started this channel, and I wanted to start recording all of my toy journeys, and then I guess the rest has become history. Enough from me. I hope this video was entertaining, and if it was, liking this video and subscribing to the channel does help to support me in making more videos like this one. Thank you very much. I hope to see you guys in the next video.